Good morning, all, and welcome to Kalbardr's Corner for this episode of Coffee with Kal. Or, of course, happy lunchtime for my friends in Southtown and the rest of you living in the future. I am Lord Kalbardr Gellir, Companion of the Meridian Cross, Companion of the Argent Comet, Companion of the Compostela, and Reaper, coming to you live from the barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridies. Now, of course, since this show is coffee-themed, let's talk about our beans. Today, I have another amazing brew from Odyssey Coffee that my inner dude just thinks is really far out. This is the White Russian from Odyssey Coffee. Of course, drinking it out of my Feed the Ravens mug from my Westie Besties. So check out Odyssey Coffee, odysseycoffee.com. They have some amazing blends. I'm super excited. We've gotten 3. This is the second of the 3 now that I've had on the show. I love supporting local vendors. I love coffee, so they are a local coffee vendor. Therefore, I am happy man. So yeah, support local. OdysseyCoffee.com. Tell them Kal sent you. You won't get anything from it, but maybe a high five from me later. And I get nothing from it, but I like them knowing that they're being supported. So. All right. So I'm alone today, guys. This is my first show by myself in a while. Our first Coffee with Kal in a while. When I was considering this topic, so a little backstory on this, I did a class, or was in a class a week or so ago, about personas, and I've done a couple different persona development classes. I've been in a couple different ones, and I realized I always walk away from them like missing something. And there's always like, and nothing. I don't want to insult the classes at all. The classes themselves are good for what they are. There's different approaches to persona development. But I realized I had some thoughts, and that's what the show is for. It's for me to have my thoughts and to express some opinions and share some things. So I want to talk about personas and really the why. I know I have a lot of Westie and sort of West Coast watchers, and for y'all, personas aren't a thing. You have a general time period, maybe you have a name, but there's not really a developed persona. And I've noticed over the last few years that it's becoming less of a thing, even here in Meridies or in sort of other kingdoms where it has been a thing previously. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what's a persona, first of all? For those new watching, when I say persona, what do I mean by this? So within the SCA is, and I'm going to say the word, ready? It's a LARP. It's a live action role play. We are fictitiously personifying or playing as if we are medieval characters in a medieval land. Okay. Now, I get that's very hard to imagine when you're hanging out in a church building or there's fluorescent lighting and people taking pictures in the corner. Like, I get it. It's not like you don't feel very medieval. But then you can think of things like Gulf Wars or Dalwhinnie Fields, some of like the more primitive sites, and you get that medieval feel. But the persona is I know, and I see Katrina gasping out there. I know, we're a LARP, folks. It's okay. That's not a bad thing, though, right? So the word LARP, to sort of go off on that tangent for a second, because it does play into a lot of this. The word LARP has really taken a negative tone because of the stereotype of the nerd, right? So if you've ever seen the movie Role Models or any of the other like LARPing sort of movies, it makes them look like stupid bird packet or bird seed packet slinging weirdos, right? And we're not that. The SCA is not that. We're not throwing bird seed packets around. We don't have fairies and goblins running about. There's no magic, but we're still playing a character. So, spoiler alert: Kal-bardr is not my real name, right? It is a persona I have developed. I picked a name. I picked a time period. I picked a place. That influences what I wear, what I do, and how I act. But does it really, right? Does it really actually do that? So, from a LARPing perspective, anybody's ever role-played, any role-playing, there's a separation of character and player. And when you're making decisions for that character, and you're in that thing, so you're doing a thing and you're reacting to a situation, you go, okay, well, what would my character do? Not what would Richard do? Well, what would Kal do? when faced with this ogre, when faced with this locked door, when faced with this thing. And you should react differently because, I, as a human person who has 33 years of experience in life, have experienced and read a lot of things, more than my character living in 11th century, Europe had. So, if I was role-playing that character, it would be different. So as your question come up, I thought LARPs were scripted. No, LARPs are not scripted per se. Let me finish this thought and I'll get into that thought. Okay, so the reaction is there's separation. Well, obviously within the SCA, because we're not reacting to storylines. So let's talk about the storyline. So in a LARP, it is a fantasy story. So generally, for those who've never LARPed before or never even roleplayed before, the person running the story, the game master, the dungeon master, the storyteller, presents the players with some sort of thing. Here's a monster to fight. Here's a guy to talk to. Here's some puzzle to solve. They describe it. They tell you what you see, and you have to imagine this. And then your character, either sitting around a table, as players, or out in the fields with holding, foam weapons, reacts accordingly. And things will happen based on that reaction. You have certain powers you can do, you have certain things you can do, and the storyteller and their team reacts, right? And it becomes a fight or some sort of, there's a dice roll involved or some sort of skill involved to accomplish the goal. So in that case, there is some planning from the storyteller perspective. They have some sort of story they're writing, but it's not really scripted in that the players' reactions are not scripted. The storyteller has to react to the player's reactions and so on. And that continues, right? So within the SCA, we don't do that. There is no storyline. There is no script for the weekend. There's no puzzle we're all trying to solve. We're recreating history, right? So in that case, we're actually more reenactors, like the Civil War reenactors or sort of the individual battle reenactors, except we're not reenacting individual places as a group. We are reenacting or recreating the medieval field. I'll air quote medieval. If I say medieval, assume I'm air quoting. I mean pre-1600 time period. So the idea of that is weird. So we're LARPing. We are role playing. So LARPing is basically interactive improv. Many years over improv theater is interactive improv, and realistically, the SCA is that as well, right? Now, for those who don't have personas or don't sort of play into the persona idea, it's not that. This is a social club in funny clothes, right? The idea of a persona allows you to get into that medieval mindset, right? So it's very difficult when you pull up in your modern car and put on plastic armor and hold a wooden stick. It's really hard to get into that medieval mindset. But if you in the back of your head have, okay, well, I'm a 11th century Norseman from this region, and I deal with these kinds of people, and you sort of had that conversation with yourself, right? You then know how you would react to various situations. Now, most times when we're having a business meeting, or we're working in the kitchen, or we're sort of doing the day-to-day mundane task in the SCA, this doesn't matter. Personas start to matter when we look at the pageantry, or the court shtick, or the frivolity around that, right? But it also gives you some tools. So one of the things that I really, really enjoy about LARPing, I love LARPing. I enjoy role playing. Actually, we just had a 6-hour D&D game yesterday, or a Pathfinder game yesterday, with some friends. I love role playing because it's a challenge to dig into that character. It allows you to sort of be somebody else. That's what the SCA allows you to do. You can be somebody else, right? Now, obviously, the character we are, our day-to-day life inspires our character in some sort of game, right? Especially if you're doing it for a weekend or you're doing it for an extended period, right? If you're role playing a character in a game around a table, you can fake it. You can be the evil sorcerer, but you're really just like the nicest guy on the rest of the league, right? But when you're having to play this for a weekend or like a week-long war, it's a lot harder to be somebody other than who you are. So our characters are inspired by us. So my character is always, I'm the good guy. I'm always the sort of the white knight. I'm always the savior of humanity. I want to fix all the problems. I'm always a problem solver. I'm always some sort of manager. That's who I am as a person, right? One of the things I really loved about LARPing is that as you make decisions and as you encounter things, as you do stuff, as you meet people, your character really gets developed, right? So it allows you to adjust your costuming, adjust your things you do. You pick up quirks. You sort of find things about yourself that allow you to do that. So when I would be role playing, so I used to role play over Romani, and we were in a group of Romani. So we had and we were very cliche Romani. Yes, it was bad, but that's what the characters called for. It was part of what the scripting was for the class and race we were playing. Yes, it was probably a little racist. I'll admit that now. Let's move past that conversation. That's a later talk. But as we played, you find items, you discover things, you pick up stuff, and it sort of allows you to evolve the character with what they wear and the decisions they make and what they do, so that the next time you make a decision, that decision is now influenced by the stuff you have and the things you've done and what's going on, right? It's influenced by what group you're a part of. It's influenced by who you're hanging out with. It's influenced by the things you have done. Obviously, we as people are the same way, right? Every day we make decisions. Every day we adjust our clothing, whether it's hot or it's cold. Whether if we're going out in the woods, we're going to carry a pocket knife and some tools. We're going to carry things to be for what we're doing, right? So if you're in an SCA event and you're heralding, you're going to carry a tabard or a baldric. You're going to carry a bag with pens and pencils in it. You're going to carry things you need to do your job. If you're in the kitchen, if you're going to carry some sort of apron, maybe you're going to dress accordingly. And then as you make decisions, your character adjusts. As you get an award, when you become, when you induct into some order, you get an award, you then can incorporate that into your garb. We see this a lot when people get, some sort of pointy hat, a baronet, or a baron, or a county or ducal coronet, or one of the royals, or we see when we have peers, they adjust their garb accordingly, right? They get their white belt, they get their laurel wreath, they get their cloak, whatever. And they may not wear it all the time, but they may start incorporating that into their persona. Now, personas in the SC are weird because, well, pre-1600 time period, right? That's literally million years if you really look at it, because there is no stop point. You could be a dinosaur. No crystal, you cannot be a dinosaur, but you could be. You could be a caveman. You could be Neolithic, whatever. It's technically allowed, but come on. There's a whole lot of time period we're covering now, right? So look at the pre BC time periods, and then the 1600 years after zero. That's a chunk time. And those peoples never met. A lot of people never met, or could have never met, because you're talking thousands of years apart. So you have to sort of make decisions and sort of figure out how you deal with personas. So there's a couple of schools of thought, and I've seen all of them. In my opinion, the best way to do personas and sort of developing the idea of persona is you pick a time, you pick a date, you pick a place, right? So 14th century or 1410 France, 1305 England, right? Whatever. Pick your spot. So in my case, negative 2000, or negative 900 BCE. Pontic steps is the Scythian stuff I'm working on. You pick a spot and use that for your base. So you if you're going to do your 14th century France, you find your person that's in that time period. You're like, all right, I want to look like this person. I'm going to use this name from this time period. It's around that same 100 years either direction. I want to look like this person. I have this job. So I'm a 14th century French barkeep, or a cook, or a stable hand, right? Or you're a herald, or some sort of minor noble. Pick your thing, develop that that initial costuming, right? So you make choices based on that, because that's all you have. So you're showing up day one. That's what you got. But then you show up in, and I'll use Meridies as the example. You show up in the Kingdom of Meridies, right? So you have traveled from a faraway land to the Kingdom of Meridies. So in my opinion, all of the kingdoms we have, all of the places we have, are the fictitious setting we're in. So I live in Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. I don't live in Meridies. Richard lives in Alabama. Kal-bardr currently resides in the Barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridies. That is where my fictitious, persona lives currently. It's not where he's from. I was not born in Meridies. I'm not, Meridian by birth. I'm here now. How did I get here? How did I get here? And how did the 14th century French person next to me get here? Well, that's a whole different discussion. But that's where you start, right? Yeah, yes, or you can be, generic SCA medieval. I'm saying this is we're past the generic SCA medieval. You pick the thing. That's where we're starting for persona development, right? So then once you're here, right, figure, okay, I'm here. I've got a king. I'm living in this land. How do I react to that? How do I figure out how to react to that? Well, so Norse personas don't have kings. They have jarls. They have sort of a baron type figure. So they understood how the hierarchy was. They understood what a figurehead or a leader was. Scythians had kings, so I'm good with that. I'm good. Okay, sure. Yeah, we have a king. I have a king. I'm actually used to having 3. I should have 3 kings. So having just 1 is weird, actually. So okay, cool. I'm good. I have 1 now. So I'm no longer a Scythian person. I'm no longer a Scythian citizen. I'm a Meridian citizen, but I still have my Scythian background. I'm still nomadic. I'm still going to carry nomadic things. I'm still going to dress nomadically. I'm still a traveler, right? Still works. Yes. Apparently, men love pterodactyls, and obviously we rode our pterodactyls here. That's how we got here, folks. We rode our pterodactyls. I love you all in the comments. You're ridiculous. Thank you for that. So you then have to adjust your persona to, why am I here? What am I doing here, right? What brings me to Meridies? What brings me to the West Kingdom? What brings me to Atlantia, wherever you're at? You're here. You're stuck here. I can't get back to Scythia. Scythia doesn't exist. Pontic steps. I can't get back to my homeland. It doesn't exist anymore, right? It no longer is there. So you play the person out of time, right? So, okay, I'm no longer out of time. I'm here. I've accepted that. You adapt. Okay, cool. I've got a king. I've got a baron. I'm part of this local organization. I found my local tribe. And then we continue. So, okay, cool. We have feast this weekend. I like feasting. Let's do a feasting. Oh, I'm going to fight a tournament. Cool, I'm going to fight a tournament. We have time. I'm no longer starving. I'm no longer having to herd my cattle to survive. Well, I have time to now research my pastime. I want to learn how to fish. I want to learn how to do these things I couldn't do previously because I have time for it. I want to learn how to make my own hooks, right? Or are those things my persona already did? So as a nomad, I should know how to, maybe make my own fishing hooks, or develop line, or repair my armor, make weapons, make simple weapons. I may not be an armorer, like that wasn't my job as part of the group. I was just a warrior. But if I was, cool. Okay, you're a blacksmith. Neat. Well, how did the Scythians do blacksmithing? Well, they didn't. The Greeks did. That's a whole different discussion. So and that's how you make those decisions. You start asking those questions of yourself, right? Okay, well, what did I do? What was my job, right? So I'm a 9th century Scythian. Cool. What did I do? What was my day-to-day like? we start asking those day-to-day questions. It then allows you to modify your garb and your things accordingly. I always say something. This is true for modern clothing. It's true for mundane or for medieval clothing. It's true for LARP, for role playing. It's true for like board game role playing, like tabletop role playing. Items and accessories make the garb. Okay, anybody can throw on a t-tunic and a pair of the generic Viking pants or whatever, and some medieval shoes and look medieval. Cool, you're perfect. You fit in. You're not obtrusive. But think back to anybody you've seen you remember. You're like, oh man, that guy was cool, or ooh, that dress really stood out. Think of why. Most of those people had accessories on. Belts, chains, bits and bobs, buttons, hats, necklaces, whatever, right? Pick the things. They look like they're dressed for their occasion. So if you're 14th century noble and you're a part of the court and you're doing the thing, then sure, yeah, all the bling, the cool hats, a parasol, like you're out because you're outdoors, right? You need a parasol. You need your things with you to survive. So me as a nomad, I have to carry my things on me. My entire persona should be developed around me carrying my stuff around. Right now, obviously, I'm not going to carry an entire backpack's worth of my daily goods because they're on the horse. Right, they're assumed to be on my horse back at camp. But on my person, I should be carrying some basic items. Right? At least should look like I'm carrying basic items. So have a pouch, have some sort of bag, have some sort of carrying thing. Have a water skin, right? Or as Rin says, I should just carry a horse. Yes, as a Scythian nomad, I should carry a horse. So it allows you to make those decisions, right? But then also you adjust that. Okay, well, I'm a Scythian nomad. I'm carrying my Scythian nomad stuff. But also today I'm heralding. I have a job to do today. So I need to adjust my garb for that. I need to then dress accordingly. I'm not going to change sort of the base of it, but I'm going to change the accessories possibly. Like it's clear throwing a tabard, right? I'm going to throw a tabard to the person I'm heralding for. I need tools and accessories for that. It allows you to sort of make those decisions a little more clearly. And then, cool, I've got some awards now, right? So I need to incorporate those in my clothing. Well, obviously, we're given award regalia that is generic, or it's appropriate to the award regalia, but may not be appropriate to our persona. You make a decision, right? So obviously, I'm getting an award in Meridies that follows Meridian traditions. So they gave me an award regalia for Meridies. But it's appropriate to wear that. Even though it's not appropriate to my persona, it's appropriate to wear that regalia. Because that's the appropriate regalia for the award I got. Or you then adjust that into your garb, right? Peers, you see peers do this a lot, right? So you see peers, they get their, they get their big cloak, they get their cool medallions, they get their whatever. And then they also add, pelicans into their trim, or they add, a necklace or a collar of estate with pelican things in it, or they have their cap of maintenance. But it's like styled to be appropriate to their persona, but it still fits that cap maintenance criteria. Make those adjustments, right? Or shift. Keep just the regalia for your time period, whatever works. There you go. So yeah, Katrina used her leaves and mirror as pins for her chitin. There you go. So she's using a word regalia as part of her costume. So I've showed my necklace I have. So I was like, I want a Norse chain looking thing, but to wear my award regalia on. So I had like 4 different sizes of things. One was wooden, one was like ceramic. It's all different size pieces. It didn't really coalesce. I adjusted to that so that I could wear it all as one piece, and it blended, but still allowed me to display my regalia. And I've done a whole talk on regalia. Wear your regalia. Regalia is important. Do it. So it allows you to make those adjustments. So Steve brought up a good point, and sort of what I'm talking about here. Personas also give you an idea for research focus, right? Either for yourself or to benefit someone else. So part of what you're doing when you're sort of talking about the personas is you have to do some research, because I don't know what the 9th century nomads did. I have no clue. I had to do that research. I had to look that up. I had to do some reading about those peoples and see what people around them thought about them, what people over here did, what people they dealt with did. and then make those decisions accordingly. And admittedly, there's a big C in the middle of the SCA. It stands for creative. Make some adjustments. All this is part of that, right? I am not an actual 9th century nomad, or I'm being creative. I'm making that up. I'm having to develop a person that did not exist. And that's the creative part of this. And the anachronism part of this is I am a 9th century SCA nomad living in the 20th century Meridians, right? I know Fiken. I know. I've been lying to Fiken this entire time. He is now hurt. I know. Sorry, buddy. Sorry about that. I'm in fact not a Scythian nomad, as much as I wish. Oh man. So yeah, so use that as a point of research, right? Now, here's the thing. The one of the things I also hear about, well, if I pick, 14th century French, then I can only do that. No. Okay. No, there's nothing saying you have to stick to one persona. There's nothing saying you have to just only research your persona. Right? One of the common tropes in the SCA. So okay, let me define trope real quick. Anybody's never role played before may not understand the word trope. In role playing, there's the trope of or the idea of trope where you have the cliche thing, right? So the raspy voiced villain, the warrior who's lost his family to orcs, the wizard who only studies his books and is frail and meek. Those are tropes. So within the SCA, the trope often is I'm a time traveler and I'm exploring other cultures. Cool, do that. That's a perfect trope. I know Oyong, her whole persona development is around, she has a TARDIS essentially. She has the Doctor's TARDIS that travels from point to point, and she has a very specific way of, like, it only goes forward or something. But her whole thing is she gets stuck in a time period and researches it for a while, and then when she's done with it, that time period moves on. She moves on to another time period for some period of time, and she has a goal of doing so many time periods over a span. I can't remember the exact details of that is, but she's been stuck in Tang Dynasty for a bit now. But that's her whole trope, right? That's her development, because she started out as 14th century English or something, and she's going backwards, I think. But that's a fun. Sure, okay, cool. I know. So my previous persona, Valentine, was I started out as I was 14th century French, so I keep bringing it up. I was French English border. I was a herald, and that's what I did. So I developed my persona because of what I did. I was a little French. I was a little English. I wanted to be super fancy. I wanted to be loud and boisterous. Right, that was the thing I did. That's where I started, and I tried to adjust my persona, my garb that way. I had a French feather fan. I had larger Catholic jewelry. So my persona was Catholic. I was English. I was English Catholic. It worked out. It wasn't great. I wasn't really great at it, but when I did fighting, I acted like I was fighting as a Catholic horseman, the whole thing. And it was little adjustments like that that allowed me to sort of get into that. So as I'm moving into my, obviously most of my garb currently is very cliche Viking, very cliche Norse. But I've made a couple of, like my regalia, things like that have fit that persona. And Norsemen were travelers. They were sort of just nomads of the sea. But I've made armor and weapon and shield choices according to that persona, and I try to fight like they would fight. So I try to only fight with those sort of weapons, but also I make adjustments when I need to. I sort of adjust accordingly when it's appropriate, because I'm adapting to the Meridian army. Right? It doesn't make sense to me to only fight with the sword and shield that I trained with as a youth, because that doesn't work for what we're doing in this battle, right? They need me to work a spear. I never would have used a 9-foot spear in combat in the in Norse combat style. They don't do that. In this combat style, I need to. Okay, cool. I know how to work spear. Figure this out. I learned that new style. Adjustments. Oh, let's see. Catch up on the comments here. Oh yeah, I do try to do the nomad bit well. Traveling is important to me. So Fury says the thing she loves about the SCA versus historical reenactment is we could be nostalgic. Correct. So I think that's important. So let's look at that for a second. So historical reenactment versus what we do. All right. So let's step away from the LARP side and sort of persona development for a second and talk about that. So historical reenactment is all about taking a particular battle, a particular group, a particular organization, a particular area, and recreating it exactly. All right. We do parts of that, right? So we occasionally do the Battle of Hastings, or we do, the deed or this or that. But we're not like looking at the Battle of Agincourt and exactly doing every person dot to dot to dot to dot, and it has to be exactly like, we want it to be, sure. If the Battle of Agincourt happened today, what would you look like? Show up for that. Or, if you were in a Roman kitchen and we're recreating this area as a Roman kitchen, what would that look like? What could it have looked like, right? Obviously, there's going to be some modern things tossed in. There's going to be some adjustments. We're not going to hand hew every brick. We're not going to hand pour every piece. But you look for the feel, look for sort of the environment around a Roman kitchen. So instead of recreating the exact, this camp at Gettysburg, we're recreating what a Roman kitchen could have been based on our knowledge of it, right? But also we want it to be functional. We want to be able to use that Roman kitchen because we're also hungry, so we need to be able to eat. So you make adjustments. But it allows us to be sort of nostalgic for a time we never knew. And there's a word for that, I can't remember. There's a word for nostalgia for times you didn't know, or weren't part of. But it allows us to be nostalgic. It allows us to sort of remember the good times. Something that's important to that, we also remember there's really shitty times. Medieval times are just as shitty as the times we have now. Like there was slavery, there was murder, there was warfare, there was just terrible plagues of pestilence. Basically, it was Tuesday. So there's good times and there's bad times, and we remember that. But we talked about it's always the SCA. The SCA is medieval times as they should have been, right? Which is why we try to do it better. What's Viking saying? Hold on, I just gotta read this. I'm an immortal velociraptor adapting to whatever culture comes around. That's perfect. There you go. There's now Persona's or Viking's persona. He's an immortal velociraptor. That's not. It's a thing. If that's what you want to do, if you want to be a magical shapeshifter that's adjusting to whatever persona you're doing that day, cool, do that. If you want to have some fantastical character, you're a changeling, you're or the kitsune that can shift to human form, whatever, cool. I know Keith is always, she's always trying to incorporate her cat stuff because she's her Helder's cat. Her name is literally cat. So she's always trying to incorporate cat ears or on her hood or something into her things because she's a cat. That's what she is as a person. Do that. Have fun with it, right? But also do a little research. Find out how they would have done that in period, because human culture has not changed all that much, right? We look back, I always love seeing the manuscripts with the cat paw prints in it, because their cat's also an asshole, like my cat's an asshole and likes to walk across their stuff in the middle of doing it. That hasn't changed in thousands of years. It's not going to change anytime soon. So these people are just like us. So look to those things. Find those things that make us the same. Nisa says, I'm taking a shower. Well, take a shower. That's fine. You're allowed to take showers at events too. And that's, again, the anachronism part, right? So we don't do everything medieval. We have shower houses. We have bath houses. We have ways you can get around the uncomforts of the medieval times. And that's okay. All right. Questions? I think I've sort of been rambling about personas. I had nowhere really wanted to go with this other than just to sort of share opinions. So we talk about the class I took the other day. So class I took the other day, Stillman talked about, he's a Spanish conquistador sort of style persona. And the guy, super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he was talking about. He understood his persona development. And the guy super knew what he never really got around to was some of the whys, right? He talked about how, but never the whys. And that's what I think is important. So what that why does is allow us to get out of the mundane. It is very difficult to do this. It is very difficult to break from the mundane. Because on Saturday, well, crap, I gotta go to bed early tonight because I gotta get up and call my kid in the morning, or I got a meeting, I gotta be at noon tomorrow, so I gotta leave the site early. You're thinking about it. You're always in the mundane mindset of what's going on the next day. What's happening Monday? What do you got to get back to? That's always in your head. It's impossible to forget your mundane life. The persona development allows you to, for a minute, think to that instead of what's coming up Monday. Right. So, when I get called into court, and this is when again, it's really difficult to do when you're just sitting around a table hanging out, right? But what can you do sitting around a table hanging out? Well, okay, I'm going to carry games with me. One of my thoughts is, as a nomad, well, we're traveling a lot, but we're also stopped for camp a lot. In the middle of nowhere, I'm going to carry some games. I'm going to carry something to play. Whether it's a chess game or 9 minutes more or something, yeah, sure. I doubt Scythians had chess boards. We haven't found any, at least not chess boards. We found other games. But they would have carried games. They would have had something to play with them. Because if not, it's boring, right? One of the things when Oyong teaches her pitch pot class, it's literally a bunch of dudes sitting around being bored. And I believe that. I believe that the origin of pitch pot was a bunch of folks sitting around being bored in camp and throwing arrows at each other. And why do I believe it? Because that happened to me in real life. Quick story. Summer camp. I am a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. We were sitting around summer camp one year, and something happened. The camp was on lockdown. I think something got stolen or somebody got hurt. So the camp was on lockdown. Nobody could leave camp. So we're sitting around in our tents, literally sitting in our tent doors, could not move. And we decided to throw arrows at each other. So we found a pot. Somebody put out in the middle of the camp, and we sat literally tossing arrows into a pot in the middle of camp for an hour just because we were bored. I was only we could do it at distance. So I firmly believe this, and this is before I knew pitch pot existed. I firmly believe pitch pot happens because a bunch of dudes were bored. So adaptation. So So heraldry. Okay, here's the thing. So I'm a herald. I've mentioned that a couple times now. Yes. So my persona, both in Norse times and in Scythian times, would not have had heraldry. However, in the SCA, it is a very important part of who we are and what we do. So, and this is very easy for late period European personas to do. It's very hard for early period anything else or anything outside of Europe to do. The Asian personas, sort of that continent has it a little easier because they had some semblance of heraldry. It was just vastly different than how we do European heraldry, and that's our rules are changing to adjust to that. But yeah, so that's an adjustment, right? So I've had to adjust heraldry into my persona development. But what I did is when I designed my heraldry, I made sure it matched something that I could do to make sense for my persona, for a Norse persona at the time. So it fits on a round shield, it fits into that thing, and it was very simple. So if you're doing an Asian persona, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, look at their heraldry, look at their flags, look at stuff they did, and find something that makes sense. And talk to the herald who will help you with that. I'm one of them. I love doing that kind of weird things. Magister Terran's another good one. He's good for the weird things. Make those adjustments. Find things that make sense, because as a member, as a citizen in Meridies, it's expected of you to have heraldry, right? So yeah, your persona wouldn't have that, but you need it for how we play this, for how we play here, and how you play now. That's important. Let's see. How to handle what your persona would do. Okay, so I'm sorry. I see this as a follow-up to that question. Yeah, so you make the adjustments, right? So if you imagine you are so pick your persona, find your starting point, and then take that person and kidnap them and drop them into another country. How they react. So right now, if you literally got picked up by aliens and dropped into China today, right now, what would you do? How would you react? Okay, you have a phone. Your phone doesn't work because you're in China and you don't have a Chinese calling plan. Your money doesn't work. You have no access to your credit cards because half of them are going to get blocked if you try to use them in China. You have to adapt, right? You have to find local contacts. You have to learn the culture. You have to adapt to this thing. Well, imagine if you're stuck there for 5 years, right? You can't a week. Sure, you can still be a very American for a week. After a week, 2 weeks, a year, 2 years, you have to adapt to the culture, right? Same thing. So my Scythian nomad, my Norse, my Norse warrior, was picked up and dropped into Meridies. The culture of Meridies, of the SCA, of this organization, of this world, is different than my homeland. I'm adapting to that. Heraldry is one of them. The kingdom structure, the organization, I don't know what a baron is. We didn't have those. I had 3 kings, not 1 king. Okay, that's weird. Got this. We got 1 king now. There's also other kingdoms around me that I'm not used to dealing with. These are peoples I don't know. I have to adapt to that. So Heraldry is a great example of that. The research, sort of the organization, is a good example of that. All that. Fiken. I gave Fiken that advice about heraldry when he was first starting with that, and I was like, yeah, make sure if you check your persona and design your heraldry so that it fits your persona. It may not look good on the form. It doesn't have to look good on the form as long as it looks good when you use it. That's the important part. My heraldry is symbolic for culture and persona. Not sure what it looks like on a shield. Well, you should put it on a shield and find out. So find out what your persona would have used as a shield, or as a banner or as a whatever. So in your case, Tang Dynasty, you would have sort of the mon on the pole. Based on what I remember of your heraldry, Boo, you should be fine. It should look right because it's a round thing, so it works out. Let's see. That was a good question. I'm not sure who asked that. SNO board man. Thank you for that question. I'm not sure who you are, but that was a really good question. Too much coffee today, guys. I've been talking about this. Is probably not when I'm by myself and I talk too much. I end up having coffee at the end of the show. I run out of stuff. So those of you who are out west who think personas are stupid, I ask you this: consider them. Consider what they are. Consider why, and use it as a starting point. Right? Use it as a way to develop who you are. This matters a lot less for the peers. Excuse me. It matters a lot less for the kings and queens of the world. It does matter a lot more for the new person, right? The new person just starting out needs to. It gives them something to look to figure out, to help them sort of dig into who they are as persons, and sort of what they're doing, right? The STA is a weird place. It's a weird place to really get involved, and it's hard to get started. So if you help them sort of pick a place and ask them those questions, what does your day-to-day life look like, right? Gives them a starting point to think on. Pet peeve. Pet peeve on personas. So it's a personal persona pet peeve. Don't tell me about your persona. I don't care. Nobody cares about your persona. Nobody wants to hear your persona story unless they ask, right? So what I want personally is I want you to show me your persona. I want to see your persona literally personified. But don't come up and tell me, oh yeah, I'm a 13th century German conquistador from the coast of Zimbabwe. I don't care. It means nothing to me. If I haven't researched those things, those words literally mean nothing. I just linked a bunch of words together that I know weren't right, but I don't care. But if I see, somebody come out in full on African tribal, the cool, the Shaka Zulu shield, and I'm going to go ask that guy, tell me, where are you from? What is this? What's going on? Because I saw it, because you drew me in with the vision, and I want to know more now. But yeah, don't quote your entire backstory. I don't care who your parents were. I don't care I don't care what you do as a living if you're not doing it now. So if you're I'm a blacksmith, but you're not carrying blacksmith tools around, or you're not you have a blacksmith aprons or whatever, I don't care. I don't hear it, because you aren't that thing. you're wearing a t-tunic, right? Again, nothing wrong with wearing a t-tunic, but now you could say, oh yeah, well I'm researching Scythian stuff. Can you tell me more about that? Like you see somebody that's Scythian, go ask them, hey, who are your thing? Because people love to talk about their personas. But when I ask you a question about a thing, don't give me. I don't need to see your entire lineage. Like, show me what you're doing. You know, and if you need help with that, there's people to ask. Find somebody who you recognize, who you notice of a thing, or find somebody who looks put together, and ask them, hey, how did you get started? Tell me about your persona. Like, ask the questions, sure, but you know, let's see. Wesley says they're not stupid. It's just not a culture out here. Folks who embrace their rat. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't saying the Wesley think personas are stupid. It's definitely not something you guys do. And I think it's because it's fallen out of place. Like I said, even Meridia's here. It's becoming less and less common to have people who have developed personas. Fury says, I like to recommend people look for garb they want to wear first if they don't have an idea where to go. Correct. That is, yeah. If you don't know what you want, find garb that fits your body shape. Or that you'll be comfortable in. So if you, so when I started playing, I was 450, 500 pounds, and I was very triangle shaped this way. And I was like, I want to be 14th century English. Well, 14th century English clothing is very triangle shaped this way. I am not this way. I'm this way. It did not work. Nothing fit me correctly. Nothing worked. My wife pulled her hair out. Trying to get me garb that fit right. And I was stuck to like I could have horseman's tunics and that's it. That's all it fit. So yeah, find garb that fits you well and start there. You can still research other stuff you're interested in, but if you're not comfortable wearing the garb, you're not going to work. But also adjust the garb. Like if you can make the garb work, adjust it. Bad people in history. They were big busted people in history. They were big hipped people in history. There were short, tall people in history. We don't see them. We don't have pictures of them. We don't have as much historical grave data from them, but they existed. Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I've never talked about that on these shows before. Yeah. So I used to be 500 pounds. I'm 250-ish now. So yeah, I'm half the person I was when I played previously. So thank you for that. The Black Duke congratulated me. I feel accomplished. Thank you. I'm sorry, that's the Black Duke. I love my Outlanders. They're the best. Let's see. Persona is a great way to get over social anxiety or push other boundaries for personal growth. Correct. That is the best thing about character, being able to develop a character. It allows you to have a mask. Allows you to sort of develop a thing to put in front of you to allow you to get over anxieties, things like that. That's a good example. Yeah, so introverts and LARPs is weird, man. I have seen so many LARPs I've been to where, you know, the person who's like the Baron or the King or the biggest thing there is like the meekest, mildest, chill person on Monday. When they put that armor on, they put that, they grab their little boffer sword and they have their spell packets. They're a badass. But it's because they're playing a role. They're portraying that character. And they have the rules that allow them to do that. So that's cool thing. So if you have social anxiety, if you have things like that, embrace that character. I know that's one of the things that Kisa does, man. When she's usually sort of introverted, and having that character when we used to LARP, and when she turned into Willow, it was a different person. She was like out in front and healing stuff and poking things, and I was like, oh my god, who even are you? But it's social anxiety. She doesn't people. So she has Kisa, and Kisa is her goofy party cat persona that allows her to be that and get over that anxiety for her in public. That's a very common thing with introverted type people. All right, I think I've talked enough. And that was the last sip of coffee, last gulp of coffee there. Last bit of things, and I'll do some business. So first of all, I should start with this. Happy Father's Day to all those out there. Whether you're fathers by choice or fathers by birth, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being dads. I know that is something that not everybody has the ability to do or doesn't have one of those. So if you have them, make sure you reach out to them today. And happy Father's Day to those who are out there celebrating that. A little bit of business from Kalbardr's Corner. So coming up next week, we have, so I'll be back with Duchess Nisa. I want to thank everybody for reaching out and and helping support Logan and Nisa on that show last week. I was actually away at a concert with Runa. We had a great time. It was an amazing, fun weekend. And we'll be going away this weekend with all the girls, and we're gonna have I have a work meeting this week, but I will be on the show next week, so I'm not missing 2 in a row. But look for Consort Conversations next Sunday. We're talking about should I say yes? So this is the when you're asked to be a consort, should you say yes? Is it something you should do? I'll be interested to see what their opinions are on that, because it's a really interesting question I've never considered. But it's may not be the greatest idea to be a consort. Who knows? So look for that. And of course, if you want to support Kalbardr's Corner and everything we're doing here at KK Productions, look us up on Patreon, patreon.com/KK Productions. Get your name on the grand wall of patrons. I also get some cool rewards. Actually, the June cutoff for the third quarter rewards is the end of this month. So make sure if you get your name in at the knight level or above. So right now I think I only got bishop level available. Knight level or above, you can get in for the June rewards. But we have rewards for the lower levels as well. And I'm going to be ordering stickers here soon for the 300 subscriber giveaway. And I'm going to be sending stickers out to all the patrons as well. Also, 300 subscriber post. I'm delayed on that. It will be coming out today. So I'll be announcing the winner for the 300 subscriber post today. So look for that on the Facebook page later this evening. And also, hey guys, we're almost at 400 subscribers, like 4 shot. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do that. Like this video, go subscribe on the Facebook or on the YouTubes. Go like the Facebook, do all those things. Look us up on Redbubble, redbubble.com. Search KK Productions. There's lots of fun stuff out there for some of the shows. I just announced or just posted a Pride sticker for this month. I say just, like it was like literally 2 weeks ago now. There's a Pride sticker out there. This corner has no closets. So we are very LGBT supportive on this show and on these channels. Please go out there and support that. Any proceeds from that sticker will not stay with me. They will go to local LGBT plus organizations here in Mobile. So I'm not making money off of that. It's like nickels per sticker. But grab a sticker if you want to. Grab some other stickers. Slap my face on stuff. I'd appreciate it. Anything else? See hearts from Katrina. Thank you for that. Let's see. I'm very new, and this is. Oh, I found myself. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm glad you're. Welcome to the SCA, and welcome to welcome to the show there. I'm also interested in the Romani, and got feeling of confliction. Will be interested in another video on this. Ooh, can we do a video on the Romani? All right, I'll consider that. I'll work on that. I love Romani culture. I love the Roma people. It is a lot of who I am as a person. I love the nomadic peoples. Let me see if I can find something to do that would be better suited for that. But yes, I will help for that. I'll see what I can do for you on that, Shannon. Thank you for that question. Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it there, gang. Make sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, do all those things down below. Thank you all for watching. As always, tune in next week for Consort Conversations. If you have questions, comments, you want to help out with the show, you want to, you have an idea for a show, ask me questions. These shows can only happen because you guys ask questions or I come up with ideas. So please reach out. I would love to do more and keep these going. But for now, this has been Cal in Kalbardr's Corner. Have a great day, everybody.